If you would ever like to be a member of the Coachella Valley Model Railroaders Train Club of the Riverside County Fair, you get to learn a lot about the layout, every step, and how to run trains. I'm George Mendoza. I've been a member of this club for almost 6 years in the city of Indio of California. Well, my thing as a member to the club is we always volunteer to run trains. For me, I'm usually the filmmaker because I make videos of the trains, great videos, and we put them on YouTube. But I still volunteer to run trains, which we always do during the days of the open house and the fair days. Our train club was a part of the National Day Festival in the city of Indio of the Riverside County Fair. Every year of the day of the open house and the days of the fair, we volunteer to run so many different trains around the layout for everyone to see. And my thing as a member is to run the trains, obey the rules, the speed, the signal lights. It's pretty much almost like the real thing if you were running on the big trains. We run hundreds of different trains around the layout every time. We got passenger trains, freight trains, and cargo trains. A lot of great details were added to this layout, but this was one of the best displays that we have ever built to the layout, the daylight. Yep, we put so much great work into this layout that a lot of people are very impressed. The best thing of all is to see the trains. This was the time of the open house on the 10th of March of 2018. We had a lot of great railway fans who came here to see us, to see the layout, and all the trains that we had. But the trains weren't the only greatest thing to the layout. The greatest things of all to see was the great displays that we built on the layout. Some of the greatest displays that you would see on the layout: the baseball field, the house on fire, and the haunted house. The O-scale Lionel was another layout that we had to the club. The greatest part about this layout, it was built for children of all ages to run the trains for free. Only 2 different trains run around on the same tracks every time. These 2 trains are only remotely controlled by the push of 2 yellow buttons. We even have big plans to make this layout a lot bigger and a lot greater for children to run the trains. Pretty soon, in a few months, this layout will look a lot different and a lot bigger.
My battery's getting weak.
Alex and I also make great videos of the trains that we run. We also put them on YouTube for all of our fans to see. All of these great trains that you see running on the layout and on different tracks, Alex and I, we make great videos of these trains and the stuff that we do in the club, and we put them all on YouTube for all of our fans to see. You will see so many different great trains running on the layout, on the upper and on the lower track. You won't want to miss the great videos that we have on YouTube.
These are two of the greatest train cars that you would see on display on the layout. These were made by a member who passed away a long time ago, and we still hold on to them and run them ever since. To our club, we had a lot of great members who ran the trains, but they were some of the greatest, incredible guys. A lot of these great trains that we ran, these were our main members of the club.
Hi, I'm Jim Daber.
My name's Greg Cave. I'm Galen McSmith, and I'm the first vice president of the CVMRR. And my main responsibility has been to install and maintain the railroad's signal system.
I'm Jim Hundley. I'm the secretary of the Coachella Valley Model Railroaders. I'm also a co-founder of the club itself. Myself and one other gentleman who resides in Dallas, Texas. We started the club in 1984, and we were modular the first few years. And then 1990, we became a permanent exhibit at the Coachella Valley Fairgrounds in Indio, which is Riverside County Fairgrounds in Indio, and we've been here ever since. So we're on our 29th year, and this particular building, which is Crafts and Hobbies.
Hi, I'm Alex Gregg. I am the current president of the Coachella Valley Model Railroaders here in this beautiful city of Indio. I've been a member of this club for many years now. I was in the early 90s until about 97, and I took a break from here because of work. I was a firefighter at the time, and I retired about in 2015. And now I'm back as a full-time member of the club and enjoying every bit of it here. And we've been having real good luck in the last year where we've gotten like 8 new members on board, and we're really happy to see that, and would like to see more people come on board and be part of our club.
Immediately, these were the greatest, incredible guys that I've ever met in my life.
If you would ever like to climb on board and be a member of our greatest train club in the city of Indio, we are called the Coachella Valley Model Railroaders. The most great trains that we ran on the layout were the Union Pacific trains. We run a lot of great Union Pacific freight trains and express trains. The best part of all of the Coachella Valley Model Railroaders Train Club of the Riverside County Fair, we live close to the Union Pacific Railway, milepost 34. Every day, hundreds of Union Pacific freight trains pass by on these tracks every week. It was one of the most busiest and crowded places of all in the city of Indio. You can always hear and see the trains pass by as they thunder through. But sometimes the Amtrak they will pass by here as well. And this time in August in the summertime, the temperature was over 113 degrees higher. We had to close down the club and all members went away for the summer, and we did remodeling to the layout.
We had plenty of time until we finished with all of the remodeling to the layout. We had to begin in the end of May, and we always finish in time because on the time when the cold comes back, we have an open house in November and an open house in March. And in February, we have the most busiest times in the club. We have the Indio Day Festival. It comes to the city of Indio on February. And that's one of the most busy and the most crowded days of all time during the club.
We started doing remodeling to the layout on the end of the month of May. We started filming on the month of September. And this time in September, the weather temperature was over 100 degrees higher. Here in the desert, it doesn't actually rain too much, especially but in the summertime. On the end of May, since today, we were still doing the remodeling to the layout. On this time of the heat, all members went away for the summertime, and only 5 of us volunteered to do the remodeling to the layout in the heat. Every part of the layout was completely shut down, but only 2 of us and 5 of us were volunteering to do the remodeling to the layout. The heat waves here, they can get so intense that in the summertime it can get so hot that no one would want to walk outside here in the temperature and this heat. Trains, they still work hard and work day and night in the summertime in this heat. Heat waves ripple the air as you can see them from the distance and the horizon. This year for remodeling, we were actually doing 2 different parts of the layout. This year we were doing the upper and the lower track. This year it was actually the yard. The yard where all the trains they park and get set up. We even put some new set of tracks on the backside of the yard with an engine shed. Today, Jim and Alex were making some new rock formations on the hillside next to the yard. If you'd like to build some real rock formations on your layout, this is the stuff that we use.
We're making sculpture mold. It's going to go on a base with sculptured rocks made out of resin material, foam. Then we'll color it and it'll look like the real thing.
Today, what you see behind me is we've been working on this week is replacing this hillside. We had just a plain green hillside there. We decided to upgrade it a little bit, so we put some cord out, and we're using a new technique for us called geodesic foam to create the molds for the rock faces that we put in here now. So we've got all the rock faces in, and we just finished cutting everything in with some sculptables so everything blends together. Now we just need to let it dry. Once that's done, then we're going to start painting it and giving it the color it needs to look like real rocks.
Yep, this was all of the work that we did in the summertime. This was also the other part of the layout that we did changes to, the top side of the little mountain. We took off some of the old stuff when we added some trees and some new buildings to it. The rest of the top side of this track was still a little bit the same.
And there were only 5 of us, including myself, doing remodeling to the layout, which we usually do every year. Sometimes we do a lot of different changes. Sometimes we might do a little changes to the layout or the building.
But back in 2014, this was the biggest change that we have done to the layout. We have built and constructed a whole new table for a new set of tracks. This was going to be the biggest mountain that we have ever built. This was how it all started, when we started to make the layout a lot more longer, with more tracks and more great displays to build. Also, we ran 2 trains on these new set of tracks to make sure that they were in good working condition, and that there were no bumps and no short outs. A week later, the entire hillside of the yard looked completely really new. The next thing that we did, we took some small little rocks and some that were made of plaster to put them on the bottom side to make it look like the real thing. We even had to do some little repairs on some parts of the layout that weren't working. And we had to clean up and pick up some of the little leftover pieces that were left on the tracks and on the floor during the remodeling. Once we were done, I had some tools to put away too. Since 2014, a lot has changed on this layout. Things used to be a lot different, and now we have built a lot of new stuff to the layout, new tracks, new trees, and a lot of new buildings, and the club continues to grow. But I still do a lot of work. Some of our model trains, they could be very expensive and very fragile to break. But I always make sure that they are still in good condition and that there's nothing broken or a missing piece. By the end of September, we knew that some members were going to come to the club to do some test runs, and we were still doing some finishing touch-ups to the layout. We had an open house coming up on the 10th of November, and we knew that we had plenty of time to finish the work. And me as the cameraman, I had to make sure that my equipment was working smoothly. This time in the month of October, we had a lot of work ahead of us because we had to do the finishing touches, add some new signal lights, and we had to clean some dust out of the buildings and some of the train cars. This was going to be a very busy month. The club rules. A member always cleans up the tracks in the morning before we run the trains. A member always makes sure that there's good hot coffee in the morning. We always walk around on the layout to make sure that there's nothing missing or anything that has to be repaired. Even though we're inside the building doing all the work to the layout, we can always still hear the trains passing by as they thunder through on the main line. To be a member of model trains and to live in an area close by where the real trains pass by, it could be the greatest thing of your life, to hear the trains and to run model trains. A week later, and the weather temperature was cooling down a little bit. But in the afternoon, in the middle of the day, it was still a little bit warm here in the desert. And today, we had the entire layout back on. But today we were only doing some testing on the tracks to make sure that they were still working. But the first thing that we had to do before we run trains was to clean up the tracks. This was the first thing that we did in the mornings before we run the trains on the layout. We take 2 of these special trains and we use them to clean up the tracks all around the layout from top inside the tunnels. We only use 4 of these alcohol tanker cars to clean up the tracks. From behind or in front, the locomotives, they push them all around the layout to clean the tracks. We only have like 4 of these alcohol tankers, but 2 of the guys only use 2 of them along with 2 locomotives to push them and to clean up the tracks. We always clean up the lower track and the upper track. We always make sure that these tracks are nice and clean so that trains can run smoothly and with no problems. We even had big plans to build the line-out layout even bigger and with more tracks. But we were going to do those plans by the end of the days of the fair. And right now, 2 of our members, Jim Hartley and our expert on the signal lights, Galen, they were installing a new signal light on the new set of siding tracks that we built during the summertime as well. Our third main member of the club, Galen, he was an expert on the signal lights, and today he was installing a new signal lights on the new siding that we built. Jim was also helping him out with the wiring too. Installing these new signal lights on the tracks, on the layout, it took a lot of work and a lot of time. But Galen, he was a great expert on the signal lights. These railway signals, which were traffic control lights for trains, they were almost like the real thing, because every time when we approach one of the signals, we always have to make sure that the light is always red, yellow, or green, which means the train will have to stop, slow down, or just speed through on the main line. It will give us the all clear, or when to slow down, or when we have to stop our trains. It was almost like the real thing as a model layout. And now, the new traffic railway signals was completed. All that was left was to do the wiring underneath it from the layout. Every time when a train approaches these signal lights, we always make sure that they're working good and properly. And the alcohol tankers, they were still doing the last finished clean touches to the tracks. Once all of the tracks were clean, then members, they could start running their trains. Alex Gregg, he was the president of the entire train club, and today he was testing out a new locomotive on the tracks. and it ran really good. All of these train locomotives are equipped with DCC and sometimes with sound. But the steam locomotives were also the greatest ones that we ran, because sometimes they don't just come with sound, they come with smoke generators, which gives them a lot of smoke through their funnels and make them look so real. But this was going to be one of the biggest famous trains that you will ever see running on the entire Coachella Valley Model Railroaders. This was going to be the #1 most best trains running on the entire layout on the entire club on the day of the open house. And the greatest and the #1 best thing about this entire train set, the whole entire train from the caboose and the cars and all 3 of these locomotives, they had the club's name all over it. This great #1 train was made for the day of the open house for everyone to come and see it, and for the movie that we are making. This was the greatest train to the entire club and for all of the members. This was the first day that the train was actually running on the entire layout. Well, today was actually a test run. This train is actually equipped with 3 locomotives. Today it was only running 2 of them because the third one wasn't running well on DCC. But these 2 locomotives, they ran really good and very smoothly, including the cars. As the train was running on the layout, I took my video camera and started taking great shots of it and how great it looked. And all of the members, they were very, very impressed over this great train. All 3 of these great steam locomotives, they were all from Bachmann, including the 4 green passenger cars and the red caboose. The train made its last final run as it passes the yard where all of the trains are set up and they're parked and ready to go. This great train took the whole entire summer to collect and repaint and to decal. This entire train set, it comes in 1 golden box, and it was made for the day of the open house and also for this documentary movie. This was the #1 and the most greatest train that I have made for the entire club and for all of the members to run. Before the train it was done running for today, I took my phone and I started filming only 1 shot of it, and it looked great. The 3rd locomotive of this club train, it wasn't working. It came with DC and we were trying to get it to work on DCC. So we had plenty of time to get it to work on DCC before the day of the open house. That is why only 2 of the locomotives were running today. The entire club train took me the whole summer to collect, respray, and rebuild to do. These are the pictures of the entire train set. This is something that you will not find in the model train stores or in the shelves to buy. You will only find it here at the train club. This train, it took me the entire summer vacation to collect, repaint, and brand new wheels and new couplers. This train, it was completely the most busiest times of my life. It took me, like I say, almost 4.5 months to collect. But these are brand new express cars. The lettering of our club, it's actually in gold. The yellow box cars, they're in black. Yep, it took the entire summer to complete this entire great train set for the entire club. I paid a lot of money for this train and put so much work into it for months, and it came out really great. This was completely one of our most best steam engines. As our logo, it has a steam engine, and this was one of our best steam engines that I was able to find to put our club name and the year number.
with the American flag is actually on top of the trains to protect it from getting loose. These yellow box cars, they were the best, but this one was actually one of my favorites and the hardest to do because the spray paint the American flag and put the stars, it took me like so much work. But this train, it was not just something that I made for myself. This train, I actually made it for the members of our club. To be fair, I would not be the only one to run this amazing main club train. This train, I would let it for all of our members of our club to run. It's one of our best trains. It's actually our #1 train to the club. This was our #1 caboose to the club with our logo on it. But these train cars, they're not just to run and also to see. These cars are also elements of of what we have in this building.
George is an amazing individual who has come a long way in the few years that he's been a member of our club. I think he needs to be commended for what he has done and accomplished.
So I actually have this club train in this amazing golden box. The whole thing is in one golden box. Right on top of it is the American flag to keep it from getting damaged and also from moving the whole time when I carry this box. The box lid is actually pretty much the same thing, but it's still in gold. But as you can see right there, it has our letters of our club. It's completely the American flag also as on the top of our box top. So that's pretty much it. So this is one of our most best trains that I've made for every member of our club and also to the club. I would say every member will get a chance to run this amazing train around the club for our open house and the fair days. I will not be the only one to run this amazing train that I've made. All of our members will run this amazing train.
Yep, this was the #1 most greatest amazing American train to the entire Coachella Valley Model Railroaders Train Club. A few days later, Jim and Alex had to do a little construction work to the top side of one of the rooms. This year, Jim and Alex are going to do a little construction work to this part of the building. The layout, it was actually turned on, but no members were actually running the trains today. Jim and Alex were doing the construction work to this part of the building on the top side of one of the rooms.
Got it.
Every piece of wood had to be measured and cut in the right place so that it fits perfectly. The next thing they had to do was to drill the nails.
How's it look from the peanut gallery? Yeah, we just gotta do more of it, right? Yeah. Keep right on going. Okay. Just say, keep on trucking. Bypass surgery. So anyway, then she texted back, says, well, I didn't make it to the DMV or the doctor. I got the vomit. Well, I'm wondering if we
It's gonna be wider at the top than it is at the bottom, I think. It's gonna be wider at the top than it is at the bottom.
Yeah. That's 28 3/4.
All right.
Okay. Your right hand is the doorway.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay?
So I need down here, I need what? 20?
Where's your tape measure at? It's down there, I know it is.
Once one side was finished, they had to do the next two sides carefully.
I'm just guessing, because I don't know nothing about no building, no nothing. But I think you're gonna have a complicated cut to make over here on that end piece.
To do work like this in the building in this train club, it takes time and a lot of work. It's more than just running model trains. You will also see how much work that we do and how much time it actually takes to do. But Jim and Alex, they do a great job.
Yeah, that's right.
Good old days. What were those days?
We even take pictures of us doing the work to the layout and to the building, and we put them all on the Facebook page.
Told you.
This is right on the edge. I got same screw like this.
Yeah, I saw him down there.
We still had more work to do, but for now, we had to take a little break. At this time, some of us were also going to be running some trains for some test runs and for some practice today. We still had plenty of time until the day of the open house.
He's very generous. Wakes me up in the morning. 10 to 11, 6 for o'clock. Yeah. You're a good dog, Eddie. Caught that one before you got out of the infield.
Before any of us could run the trains on the layout, he was doing some cleanup on the tracks.
So it happens. We did it this way. The second one was following just in case the first one suffered a little bit.
Using only 2 of these locomotives and 1 or 2 alcohol tankers, they clean up the tracks from outside and inside the tunnels.
I got to listen to what the city council is going to do They have a temporary 45.
This dog's name is Eddie. He was Alex's dog, and he was a really great dog and a very good boy to the club. As for me, I had to do a test run as well. Today I had to test out the Daylight Express and to make sure that all the cars were running smoothly. And the observation car? It only uses one AA battery to turn on the red light on the back side of the car. These are the throttles that we use to run the trains, and they only use one 9-volt battery.
So right now I'm actually doing a test run on this new Southern Pacific Daylight Express. Make sure the cars are okay and run on good condition, no derailments, no crashes. Make sure these cars they run smoothly.
Today I was doing the test run while Jim and Alex were doing the construction work to the top side of the room. At first, the train ran okay, but every time when it approached the siding, one of the wheels on the cars they came off the rails and derailed. But today, I wasn't the only one who was doing test runs. One of our other members named Robert, he was practicing how to run his train for the days of the fair and the open house.
The open house comes before the fair. Oh, the open house comes from the fair.
We call this test run because every time when a member runs a train on the layout, we always make sure that the locomotives are running good and that the cars didn't derail. The trains were still passing by as we can always hear them from inside the building. A week later, me and Alex were now doing the next touch of work to the entire wall. And Galen, he was installing some new signal lights on top of one of the tunnels on the upper track. For the past days of the week, Jim and Alex and one of the other guys, they did this entire wall. But today, me and Alex were repainting these pieces of wood and yellow paint, and to wait until they dry up, and for them to be nailed onto the wall. Every one of these pieces had to be measured and cut in the right direction. We started moving one big piece to the other to the next one. In order for this one to fit perfectly, we had to cut out the top part of the door.
That even up there?
Okay.
I can cut it this way first.
Every one of these pieces of wood had to be cut right in the right place, with no mistakes.
You gotta do more.
You know, I'm ambidextrous.
What's that? Look at that.
Beautiful.
Be
The next thing that we had to do was to punch the nails into the wood.
Just look at that thing of beauty.
It's better than beauty. It's awesome. It's art.
It was a great work of art, but of construction work.
Right there. Right there.
Right there.
Okay. Nail it. Well, you can't find it. You gotta use your.
Yep.
We have completed one side of the wall, now we just have to finish the rest of it. A week and 6 days later, the entire wall, it was now finished, and it looks so great and colorful. It took time and a lot of work to do this great big change, and now it matched the entire thing across the building. And now, two of the guys and myself were doing test runs on the layout. We had to make sure that our trains were ready for the day of the open house. And some of the guys were doing repairs and fixing on the work desk as well. And our guy Jim, he was working on some wiring today to fix and to connect.
Finally walked out. Said, "Oh, how about some scotch?"
Huh? The one on the end of the resistance is just not quite enough. Oh, that's fine. It's just the other ones are too small.
Today, while I was doing test runs on the main club train, one of the couplers on the cars, it wasn't working. At this time, I had to replace the coupler and put a new one in it. Sometimes these couplers, they cannot work right and they will disconnect the cars from your train. That is why we always do checkups and replacements all the time. After I removed the old coupler and put a new one in it, it was now time to put the train back together and make sure that it was still running good for the open house. This is why we always do test runs before the days of the fair and the day of the open house. Also, we had to try to match the speed of two of the locomotives. At the work desk, Ski and I we were trying to match the speed of the two engines, but it was a complete fail. These were actually only two steam engines, a 440 and a 460. Both of these engines were actually from Bachmann, but today we were trying to match the speed on both of them, but it didn't work. And now the plan was to have these two trains run separate. Test runs are one of the most important things that we always do before the days of the fair and the day of the open house with our trains. The point is, every time when we do test run with our trains, we always make sure that they run smoothly and that they work in good conditions. Sometimes we have to clean up the wheels, replace the couplers, and check other things that need to be repaired or checked. Jim was testing out one of his trains for the day of the open house, while the other guys were hanging out and talking, while we were doing some work to the layout and doing test runs. They were the greatest guys ever. The best and the greatest members that you would ever meet on the Coachella Valley Model Railroaders.
Well, you've had that before on the other things where you basically had to.
Back in the year 2016, one of our model train members, Don, he had cancer and he passed away. He's got left behind a few of his trains and a lot of the great guys who missed him. After Don he passed away, his wife came to the club one day with all of his trains because she was going to sell them to us for us to have and to remember him. This was one of the locomotives that she was selling to the club. When I saw it, I just quickly picked it out and bought it from her. And this was the second one that I bought, the Daylight Steam Locomotive. I actually have it on display in front of my TV where I can always see it and to remember him. I look back at the last days when we had Dawn. It doesn't feel like the same thing anymore. It feels like a different world. At the time, we didn't think there could be anything worse than to lose a great member to our club. A week before the open house, a lot of the members, including myself, we were so very busy cleaning things up all around the building, from the layout, from the floors, and everything top to bottom. Every time when we have to remove the dust from the layout, the HO, and the line L, we always use these small paintbrushes to remove and clean off the dust from the buildings, the cars, the train cars, and everything that is covered with dust. I think I did most of the line L, and after that I started to clean off the dust from the HO layout too. I was actually removing all of the dust from the locomotives and the train cars as well. I started off with one and then I moved on to the next one. It was a lot of dust to clean up with these paintbrushes. I had to do it very carefully or else one of the details will break off and I had to fix it. It wasn't just the trains that was also covered in dust. Most of the buildings, they were covered in dust and I had to remove it all too. I actually started off with the buildings and then I moved on to cleaning up all of the dust from the trains as well. We actually put in a whole day to get things ready, to clean everything up and make sure that we're all set for the open house. Every year for the day of the open house and when the fair comes to town, a lot of the guys, they are always very busy getting things ready, make sure everything is cleaned up and spick and span, and all of our trains are ready to run for the day of the open house. This is always how we get things ready for the days of the open house and when the fair comes to town. As we were still doing cleanup to the inside of the entire building, two of the guys, they were also volunteering to clean up the tracks. For all of the great details of the HO layout, we always carefully clean all of the dust off with the small paintbrushes. After we finished cleaning up all around the inside of the building, we also had to inspect both of the layouts to make sure that they were all ready and all the dust was cleaned off. We were going to make some great progress and a great day for the day of our open house. This great train club was also called the greatest one of all in the city of Indio. Four days later after the cleanup, we only had 3 days left until the day of the open house, and today it was our last day of doing test runs. Our one day of cleanup, it was only on Saturday, and it was one full day to do a lot of cleanup and get ready for the open house. And today, it's actually a Wednesday. A lot of the guys were doing test runs to make sure all the trains are set and ready for the day of the open house. While the guys were setting up their trains in the parking yard and doing their test runs, I also had to test out the main club train to make sure that it was ready. And it was fully operational and set to go. And it ran really good. We finally got the third steam locomotive to work on DCC and on sound, and it ran really good. It was all set and ready. It took a few months to have it to run on DCC because it ran on DC at first. Today, it was our last day to do test runs on our trains for the day of the open house. All test runs were completed and all of our trains were set and ready for the day of the open house. But today, on Wednesday night, November the 7th, we did more than test runs. Today at night, we had a meeting for all of our members for the day of the open house. Tonight's meeting, Jim, Alex, and Galen, they had some news they would like to give out to all of our members and some things they would like to say for the day of the open house. But first, we did the most important thing.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And for the Canadians here, is there a Canadian flag? There is none. Okay. All right.
We have the same, you know.
Oh, okay. Okay.
You can say okay.
Yeah,
You can lead it. Okay. 5:25.
Third to us when you're going to set up front.
Yeah, I'm getting tested for hearing aids. Also added a passing siding to the mountain route on the east side over there by the mine. And it's as long as the one that's on the west side, so we have two opportunities to pass it, park trains if necessary on the mountain route on the north end of the layout.
I've never seen him working. All I see is lying down on the floor here and the
You
layout.
get under the layout, they don't catch you down there, you can lay down and
Turn the
relax.
fan on and go to sleep.
Just a couple of reminders and a little bit of talk about what we've done with signaling since the summer, or during the summer. So first of all, a reminder is that the toggle switches that control the turnouts are typically, there's always exceptions, but typically always up for the normal route on the layout. There's two main lines, so we sort of arbitrarily decided to say if you're going on the shortcut around, that would be the up position, and I think, and then so the down position is if you're going over by Union Station.
If you're coming the shortcut, now you're on the middle rail. And then you got to switch down to the line here.
Oh, actually, it's a little...
Other way around. I wanted to see if he knew. He called me on.
So anyway, those are the two exceptions. Other than that, switches can be up and you're doing fine. If during, well, at any time, not just for open house or the fair, but any time that you want to park your train for a short period of time in one of these sidings out here, just make sure once you take the siding that you throw the switch back to the normal position so anybody behind you can pass you while you're in the siding.
Every year when we have a meeting at the club with all of the members, we always give out the news to them, tell them all the new stuff that we have and new plans that we plan to do, and some new stuff that we add to the layout that we had to know.
They detect, yeah, if there's something in the block, and then that talks to the...
That's really sure signals. So there's a little bit of glitch in there.
There's a glitch up in there.
Yeah, the signals serve two purposes. Which turnouts in front of you, tells you what they're at. And of course, if somebody's on the back.
Okay, that's really all I have. As we make changes, we'll either try to publish something or try to catch people and talk to them. We're not going to have too many more changes. We've got a few more signals to install up here in this plateau area, and that will be about it.
We need to be using the sign-in board.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, make sure when you run your locomotive, put your numbers up on the board so we don't get duplicates out there, because that's happened in the past.
Who was it? Paul was going to help, and he ended up in the hospital. And
yeah. Well, so, but it's still there. Still work on that. Calendars, we'll also be sending out a reminder of all that. So what we're going to do is we have nominations for the board for 2019. So with that being said, I'll open the floor for nominations. So jump right up.
I've already got a couple of people who've already approached me, but I think they're talking about it too.
Because what happens, you combine the treasurer and the secretary into one. So technically, you could have one wrong. I remember
what he said.
Well, if somebody wants to be a secretary, vote treasurer.
Do the board members vote for the president, the vice president, and secretary? Or do they just vote for board members?
No.
Board members can organize themselves.
Individual names on it.
Yeah, but again, as president, Alex, you could appoint somebody to head, cleaning track or head doing this. That's entirely within the scope of you and the board.
And if you look at the bylaws, I don't know how many of you even noticed it's there, but they'll break down what the position of the office does, what the responsibility is.
And so all your ballots are...
Tonight, before the meeting was over, I had to give out one great news to all of the members tonight. It was all about the new entire club train for the open house and for the movie.
There's only 3 locomotives. We have the 060, the 440, and the 460. And both of these locomotives are Bachmann. It took me a while to complete, but it's mostly just scrape off the decals and put the letterings on it. What I use were these letters that I bought from Hobby Lobby. They were at a very good price. They're very difficult to remove from the paper, so what I had to use were the best tweezers that I had to get the letterings on, because to use the fingers to get these off won't be easy. You have to use like tweezers to get them off and to connect them to the engines. And there are only two colors. We only have white and black.
There was only 3 different type of trains for the entire club, with only 3 locomotives. The 060, it was made only for shunting cars. And the 440 steam locomotive, it was only the express locomotive for the entire express train. It pulls only 4 of the entire express cars. And the 460 steam locomotive, it was only to pull the freight cars. It only pulls the yellow and brown box cars, including the cattle car and the red caboose. So now, there are only 3 different type of main club trains for the entire club and for the members to run.
The yellow and the brown on the box cars, which are these ones, and for the little one. These are actually the colors that I've selected from the structural that we have right here, with our logo and our flag, the same thing right there on the top. This one with the American flag, we are part of the United States. This cattle box car was to match this room that we have right here. 3 elements of this building, the cars. Our last one, the red caboose for where we put away all of our stuff. And it also has the exact same logo that has on the side.
The greatest things of all of the main club train to the club, all 3 different type of them, the cars and the locomotives, they were matched elements of all parts of the building of the club.
Jim and I, we have had a little problems with the steam engine, the 460. This was actually ordered on DCC ready, but we had a little trouble getting it to run on DCC. Thanks to Jim, we now have it to operate on DCC.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you, George. You did an amazing job with all the details.
Yeah, all of the guys, they really enjoyed and they were very impressed over the main club train for the movie and for the open house. It was the greatest train ever. It was the night of November the 7th. It began to sound a little bit crowded in the early morning in the city. November the 10th started out like every other morning. 8:30 in the morning, it was a little bit cloudy, but today it was a full day of sunshine. At the club, all of the guys were getting ready, setting up their trains in the parking yard. All of our locomotives and the train cars were all ready and fully operational for the open house. The entire layout, it was turned on, operating, and it looked so great. A lot of people, they would like to see a lot of great stuff about the layout. Before the gates would open for the open house, the guys were still busy in the parking yard connecting their trains, putting them together, and they were all set and ready to run for the open house. Before the day started, we gathered up all the members for one last thing.
It's enjoy our models out here today. Hopefully lots of people here. We've already seen a lot of people during the week come filtering through here from the square dancers. And that's what's going on outside. So a bunch of them will probably be showing up today. Again, rules. We're going to have gates open so people can actually get up close. Just keep an eye on things so people aren't using the guys, especially a small children. And you can gently ask them, keep their hands on the handrail. That would be great. Have fun. If anybody shows an interest in becoming a member, we have paperwork over here for that. We also have interest cards that we can have them fill out. So if that's the case, grab a couple, put them in your back pocket that you can hand them home, and just show interest. And if you want to expand on that, have them talk to either myself or Jim or Steve, and we'll give them all the details. Any questions, comments, concerns? All right. Yes, sir.
Okay, if you guys have to use a step stool, for whatever reason on the outside, don't leave it on the outside. We don't want kids climbing on it and reaching over to get stuff.
Put it away.
Put it back underneath the layout. And also, it's brought to my attention that Galen noticed that being those metal ones, a little short stool, be very careful where you put it because you can be bumped up against electronics. And that's not going to be a good thing. So make sure you're not in that area. And public won't be able to go in the aisle.
Yeah, we'll put the yellow chain across, so as members only. All right.
Oh, I got it.
Out in the aisle.
What's that, a restaurant?
Yeah, right on the corner.
Yeah, oh, I just good.
All right. We'll get your stuff set up. Thank you.
Did you feel like
All of our trains were ready, and the open house day has begun. We actually started off with the 3 main club trains. The little tank engine, it was actually busy putting the 4 green express cars in place for the train to pick them up. In this video, it shows the little tank engine moving the green cars in the siding. This little tank engine, it was only made to shunt the cars into different sidings or into different tracks. Here you can see it's moving the 4 express cars into a different siding for the locomotive to pick them up. That's what this little engine it was actually for shunting the cars into different tracks. The tank engine actually starts out with the box cars first. It's going to take him to a new track for the locomotive to come couple up and to pick him up. The entire train it was all ready coupled up and all set and ready to go. On the other side of the tunnel lies the entire yard where the train it will leave the cars and the steam engine will come and pick them up. The steam locomotives were waiting in the engine shed as we start off with the first one, the express locomotive. The little steam engine left the 4 express cars here in the siding of Union Station for the steam engine to couple up and to take them away. Here is where it will first start off. The CVMRR express train was now departing from the Union Station as it slowly starts off. If you are actually small and walking on this layout, you will take a great video shot of one of the trains from the distance, and this is how cool it would look and how it would sound. As the express train approached me, it almost felt like the real thing, as if I was walking on the layout and taking a video shot of it. The express train now pulls slowly back into Union Station for the other train to set up and ready to take its cars away. At first it will have to park in the siding of Union Station, allowing it to pass through. The two trains were left on the sidings, allowing the other trains to pass by on the tracks too. Lionel trains were working really good, and children were enjoying running the trains and looking them up close. And the two main club trains, they were now back running on the layout, and people were very impressed as well. There were some great things about these nice steam locomotives running on the tracks. The clickety-clack on the running on the wheels. And also everyone else was very impressed. The two main club trains, they were running so good. All of the members and everyone else, they were very impressed to see this great train that I have designed. Everyone else, they were very impressed over the layout and the new stuff that we built, that they were very happy to say great stuff.
Very detailed.
Okay. And what do you think about the trains? Do they look so real?
Yes.
I've seen it in the past. I also come from a family of engineers, and they continue today doing the engineering trains, but this is really great. It's really a nice thing to view.
It's quite amazing, yeah.
Oh, I think it's incredible. So much detail.
Everyone really enjoyed the details and a lot of great stuff about the layout. We now continue to follow one of the main club trains, the express train. We follow it around the layout as it now continues to head right up to the mountain on the upper track as it goes right through the tunnel. The greatest thing of all, we had a small tiny camera rolling on one of the trains as it follows it around on the layout. This was completely one of the greatest shots that you would ever see, as you can imagine you were riding right on front of one of the trains.
As I listen for the whistle, lie awake and wait. Wish the railroad didn't run so near, as the rattle and the clatter of that old fast freight keeps making music in my ear. Go bum again, go bum again. Hear the whistle blow. Clickety-clack, clickety-clack, the wheels are safe to the railroad track. Well, if you go, you can't come back. If you go, you can't come back. If you go, you can't come back. Well, if you go, you can't come back. If you go, you can't come back. I wouldn't give a nickel for the bum I used to be. Worked as hard as any man in town. I've got a pretty girl, she thinks the world of me. A man would be a fool to turn her down. Every night I listen, wonder if it's late. In my dreams I'm riding on that train. I feel my pulse a beating with that old fast freight, and thank the Lord I'm just a bum again. Go bum again. Let's go. Go bum again. Ooh. Get it now. Hear the whistle blow. click-click-clack. The wheels are stained to the railroad tracks. Well, if you go, you can't come back. If you go, you can't come back. If you go, you can't come back. Well, if you go, you can't come back. If you go, you can't come back.
As the two main club trains continue making their run around the layout for the open house, we still took great shots of the other trains running on the layout as well. While the trains were running, I had decided to put the shunting little tank engine in there as well, and it ran really good, helping out the express train pull around the layout. This was one of the beautifulest waterfalls that we have ever built to the layout. To see the trains pass by on the bridges and to see the water, it was very amazing in reality. All of these good people who came to see the layout and to see us run the trains, they were very impressed. Mothers, fathers, and little children, they were also very impressed as well to see the model trains. But to run the O-scale Lionel layout, it was actually one of the best things for the children, because we have built the Lionel for children to run the trains for free, and kids really have so much fun running them. Our open house on the 10th of November 2018. Of all the great trains that we ran, we've run so many great model trains around the layout this year for everyone to see. Passenger trains and freight trains. A lot of people had enjoyed watching the trains and seeing all the great stuff about the layout, and they really were impressed. Children of all ages and adults really enjoyed seeing great stuff about the trains too.
It's pretty cool. It's pretty good.
Now they move really good and it looks awesome how all the lights are lit up.
We were selling some great items too. Toy cars, a few train cars, and a lot of other great stuff about trains. And also some model train magazines. All of our great members of the Coachella Valley Model Railroaders, they enjoy running the model trains around the layout and for everyone to come and see. The members, they still enjoy being a member of the club. They even said a few things on camera.
I think it's great, especially when I screw up. And then everybody gives me all the attention. And I've gotten attention a lot.
I love them. I'm born with them. They get great enjoyment, and now that we have radio-controlled airplanes, trains, it's wonderful. And all the guys in the club, it's a wonderful place to be.
Oh, the friendship of the people and the good times we have together. It's just a good hobby. When I was younger, I did things like snow skiing and stuff, and now I do this. It's much more fun.
Great people, lots of fun, good camaraderie.
Oh, I like it. It's my favorite pastime, other than eating and drinking.
Oh, I enjoy it a lot. How about you, George? Do you like it?
Yeah, I love it. All of our members, they still enjoy and they love running the model trains. Our day of our open house went really great, and all things were now starting to shut down and now ready to close. The entire layout, it was now shut down as we turned off the DCC Digitrack system for the entire layout. Our open house on the 10th of November. Now what we have coming up next is the fair coming to town pretty soon in the month of February. Three weeks passed, and we still run our trains. Well, new ones too. Two of us have bought brand new locomotives to run. But we'll always run our other trains for the next open house and when the fair comes to town. Some members bring some of their locomotives from home for some test runs. We still test out other new locomotives on the test track. As for the club, we even got new members to join us. These were men who came to see us on the day of the open house. They were very impressed and decided to sign up and join our club. We show them around the layout and we teach them how to run the trains.
It's always exciting to have new members to join our club. On the meet days, Saturdays and Wednesdays, they come in to see us, and we always kindly introduce ourselves to them, and we show them around the layout how it works. And Jim and Alex, they show them around how to run the trains. It's always great to have new members to join our club.
And the others, they still enjoy being a member of the club and running model trains for everyone to see. Because everybody loves model trains. But some things will never be the same again. Every time when you look up at the past, it really does grab you, because it brings back a lot of great wonderful memories. We have come such a long way. We will never forget how different this layout used to look a long time ago.
Every year to the layout there will always be some changes. Some things might not be the same again. Some things might be a little different.
Every year, so many different model trains run around on the layout all the time for everyone to see. If you would ever like to see more of our great model trains that we run around on the layout, you can always find them on the YouTube channels we have. You can also find us on our Facebook picture to see a lot of great stuff that we do to the layout and all the different trains we got. If you would ever like to sign up and be a member of our Coachella Valley Model Railroaders Train Club, you can always find us on the internet. As for our new members,
all we can do now is show them this documentary movie and tell them the story of how our club began back in 1985.
I'm going where them chilly winds don't blow. Gonna find a true love, that is where I want to go. Out where them chilly winds don't blow. Sing you a song, sing it soft and low. Sing it for you, baby, and then I'll have to go out where them chilly winds don't blow. Wish I was a headlight on a westbound train. I'd shine my light out, cool Colorado rain, out where them chilly winds don't blow. If you're feeling lonely, if you're feeling low, remember that I loved you more than you'll ever know. Going where them chilly winds don't blow. I'm leaving in the springtime, won't be back till fall. Ooh, if I can't forget you, I might not come back at all. Out where them chilly winds don't blow. Out where them chilly winds don't blow. Out where them chilly winds don't blow.